we're going to look at adding and subtracting surds. Now you can only add or subtract surds that are the same. So in other words, the root 2's or the root 3's or the root 5's, all of them have got to be the same before you can gather them together. A wee quick example there, and I'll go into it in more detail in a minute or two. If you've got 5 of these root 2's and another 2 of these root 2's, then altogether you get 7 root 2's. If you've got 5 root 7's and you add on 2 root 7's and you take away 4 root 7's, 5 and 2 of them gives you 7 root 7. Take away 4 of them gives you 3 root 7. 5 root 3's, add on 8 root 3's, take away 6 root 3's. 5 of them plus 8 of them is 13. 13 of them take away 6 of them leaves us with 7 root 3's. Now, sometimes you have got different roots. The roots are not exactly the same and you've got to simplify them first. I've written this down here. If the surds are not the same, sometimes it can be simplified to make them into the same roots. We will simplify first. Now, I've done a video on this already, but because it's important for this, I'll just do a quick recap. For example, if you look at the square root of 8, that can be simplified. You look for the biggest square number that divides into 8, and a wee reminder of your square numbers, they're there up to 100. So you're looking for the biggest one of those numbers that divides into 8, and of course it's got to be 4. So you change it, square root of 8 becomes the square root of 4 times 2. You break that root sign down the middle. So really what you've got then is the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. But because 4 is a square number, then we can calculate that. Square root of 4 is 2, and that simplifies to 2 root 2's. So if you were adding that onto other lots of root 2, then you would have to do that process first. Another wee example of that just now, square root of 72. The biggest square number that divides into 72 is 36, and it's 36 times 2. Split the root, and root 36 times root 2, which gives you 6 root 2's. Another wee quick example, square root of 27 is the square root of, biggest square number is 9. 9 times 3, square root of 9 is 3, so split the root, and it becomes 3 root 3's. Now that process has got to be done sometimes before you can add or subtract the roots. Right, now I'll go through 3 examples where we're going to simplify, similar to the ones we've done before, but I'm going to take a wee bit more time doing them. So the first one I've got here, part A, is I want to simplify 5 root 2's and 7 root 2's. I've highlighted, the roots are the same, we're dealing with root 2's, so we've got 5 of them and 7 of them, and the answer is 5 and 7 is 12 root 2's. Here we've got 10 root 3's and 6 root 3's. I've highlighted the roots there so you can see them clearly. So I've got 10 of them, take away 6 of them, and that gives me 4 root 3's. Now, the one down here at the bottom, I've highlighted the roots in different colours. Root 5's I've highlighted in yellow, and this root 3 I've highlighted in a dark pink. Now, there are 2 terms that have got root 5, so we can simplify them, we can gather them together, but there's no other root 3's, so that just stays as it is. So we've got 4 root 5's, and I want to add on 6 root 5's. That gives me 10 root 5's, and the root 3's, there's nothing else to add on to it, so I just write down minus 2 root 3. This next one, I've got to simplify the surd, root 8 plus 3 root 2's. Now I've highlighted the roots. They're different roots, so I can't do anything. But what I can do is I can look to see if I can simplify anything, and if I think of a square number that divides into them, for root 8, it's obviously 4. So I've got to then take that and simplify that. So that root 8 is the same as the square root of 4 times 2. Break your root sign. Square root of 4 is 2, so it's 2 root 2's. Now once I've done that, then I do have the same roots involved in this question. So I've now got 2 root 2's, that comes from that answer there, and I want to add on 3 root 2's, so I can add them, they're the same roots. I've got 2 of them, and I've got 3 of them, which gives me 5 root 2's. I'm going to try a couple of these questions. So first one is 3 root 12, add on root 27. Now, this root 12 and root 27, totally different roots, so I'm going to look at them separately, root 12, and I'm going to look at root 27, and I'm going to see if they're square numbers that divide into them to see if I can simplify them. So if you think of all your square numbers, 1, 4, 9, 16, etc., what's the biggest one that divides into 12? and that's got to be 4. So that becomes the square root of 4 times by 3. Break your root sign as root 4 times by root 3. We know the answer to that, root 4, because it has a square number. The answer is 2, so it's 2 root 3s. So I now know that this thing here, this root 12, is 2 root 3s. I'll have to be careful because there's another number there as well, but we'll deal with that in a second. Now, the next one is root 27. What's the biggest square number that divides into 27? It's got to be 9. So that becomes 9 times 3. Break the root sign, becomes the square root of 9 times the square root of 3. Square root of 9 we know, again, because it's a square number, is 3 root 3s. Now I'm going to put that together into this equation. 3 root 12, so I've got 3 times root 12. I've worked out that to be 2 root 3. So I'm going to write it in there. And then I've got a root 27. I've worked out root 27 is 3 root 3s. Now here I'm dealing with all of these root 3s, so that's fine. I can tidy this all up. But I've got a wee bracket to start off with because that wee 3 was sitting there at the front. All I have to do is 3 times 2 is 6, so that's the same as 6 root 3s plus another 3 root 3s. I've got the same roots, so 6 of them plus 3 of them gives me 9 root 3s. And that's my final answer. Next one, I want to add root 32. I want to take away root 32, take away root 8. Right, 2 roots different, so I can't do anything with them just now, so I have to try and simplify them. So I've got 32, and I've got root 8 in here. Now, the more of these questions you do, you'll start to recognise numbers that come up all the time. This root 8 comes up all the time. Root 32, what's the biggest square number that divides into it? It's 16. It's 2 lots of 16, so it's 16 times 2. Break your root sign, becomes the square root of 16 times the square root of 2. Square root of 16 is 4, so it becomes 4 root 2s. So that's that one done. Square root of 8, I should be getting to know that one by now. The biggest square number that divides into it is 4, so it's 4 times 2. Break your root sign, becomes the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. What is the square root of 4? It's 2, so that becomes 2 root 2. You should now be getting to recognise that root 8 is the same as 2 root 2s if you've done enough of these questions. Right, go back up to what we were asked to do. So we want root 32. I've worked out it's 4 root 2s. And from that I want to take away root 8, and root 8 is 2 root 2s. So 4 of them, take away 2 of them, leaves me with 2 of them, and it's 2 root 2 is my final answer. Next one, root 2. 2 is a prime number, there's nothing else we can simplify it around, so that's just the same, that's not going to be changed, that stays the same. Root 72, we've looked at that one before. Biggest square number that divides into that is 36, so it's 36 times by 2. Break the root sign, becomes root 36 times by root 2. Root 36 is 6, so we've got 6 root 2s. Back up here, we've got 1 root 2. And I want to add on this root 72, which is the same as this. So we've got 6 root 2s. I've got one of them sitting there. We don't put the one at the front, but it's just one of them, plus another 6 of them, is 7 root 2s. And that's our final answer. For this one, we've got root 8 plus 5 root 2s. Root 8, biggest square number again, is 4. So it's 4 times 2. We've done that now 3 times in this wee short video. So it's the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. Square root of 4 is 2, so it's 2 root 2s. Now that's simplified. It's root 2s, don't need to do anything to that. So root 8 becomes 2 root 2s. And I've already got 5 root 2s here. So 2 of them plus another 5 of them gives me 7 root 2s. Now you go away and work on those questions on your own. Look at your textbook, look at your notes and try some for yourselves.